Wonderful. Well, we have the last session here before lunch, and Sebastian from HOPR is going to be speaking about Web3 privacy infrastructure. So stay tuned to that.
Thank you so much.
Give him quickly a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the introduction here. So welcome, and sorry to stand in your way of the lunch break. So the transition from the previous talk is going to be a bit rough, so I'm going to have to improvise a bit here. So who here ever had to KYC with any sort of exchange? Yeah, a few people. So you send your personal data, that is for regulatory reasons required to some centralized data custodian that you think is doing a good thing. Is that really helping us? Has regulation really helped anyone in crypto? Has it prevented FTX, who talked to the most established regulators on the planet? Kind of rough to answer that one, right? So I come from a world where we think technology and not regulation is what protects users, that protects individuals. And I'm deeply convinced that that is what the crypto space is actually about. It's actually about empowerment of the user, nothing else. Crypto is not here for business process improvement. Crypto is not here for more efficient trading schemes. Crypto is exclusively here to empower the individual. And if we think about from that perspective, there's a few things lacking, right? There's a few things that are misdirected. I'm Sebastian, I'm founder of HOPR, and I will talk about privacy. You might wonder, again, in this notion of empowering the individual, why is he talking about privacy, right? Isn't this all about decentralization? Are we actually here in this, esteemed crypto valley to talk about decentralization? Well, yeah, all of us want to decentralize all the things, right? All of us, including this gentleman. He'd be very happy about decentralization. He'd be very happy not having to, comply with the annoying regulations that we heard about before. He's very happy about it, as you can see. Anybody seen this gentleman? Anybody here got their iris scanned already? No people who got their iris scanned, please keep it that way. Good. So, but there's not just private for-profit corporations that are very happy about decentralization and avoiding kind of the hassles of the old world, right? There's other people who are very excited about decentralization. There's other people who cheer to the notion of CBDC. Yeah? Is that the decentralization that we want? Is that the decentralization to enable any of these esteemed gentlemen to further their power structures? I think it's not, because they're not aligned with the values of empowering the individual. So when I talk about empowering the individual and trying to actually avoid further pitfalls of decentralization, I think we should look a bit more closely at it. Decentralization, in a naive way, leads to more data harvesting. I know it's a bit controversial, but if we think about it, what does decentralization mean? Technically, we're talking about peer-to-peer networks. Yeah? All of this crypto stuff is basically just peer-to-peer networks. So let's look at that. So crypto largely is, made for any of these anons. You won't find them on LinkedIn, by the way. But some of the leading figures who drive the crypto ecosystem forward. And they're anonymous actors who, use their human right of privacy to interact with the most innovative crypto tools on the planet. And, typically we interface peer-to-peer infrastructure, might be Ethereum, might be stuff like the Graph, might be IPFS for data storage, any sort of this decentralized infrastructure. But as it stands, these decentralized infrastructure, this peer-to-peer technology, you don't have contractual relationships, right? You don't have any sort of, regulatory grasp over that. And every time we try to exercise such a regulatory grasp, we basically failed. And it is not a Web3 failure. We've seen that around, Pirate Bay, Torrent, that was kind of popular when I went to school, which is basically a prelude to the Web3 movement, right? So basically, we cannot exercise any power over true crypto networks. So still, there's a problem, and that is on all layers, and I will focus on the most fundamental layer. There is data harvesting. Who the hell protects us from that if regulation isn't going to cut it? My thesis is that strong privacy tech is our only actually useful insurance policy that protects the individual from the overarching powers of private for-profit corporations, of kind of misguided individuals, and powerful, failing nation states. Now, how are we going to get about it? And now I'm going to start talking a bit more about what we at HOPR are building. First of all, you might wonder, okay, like how bad is that really? Right? How bad is that really? And is Sebastian just talking hypothetical here? Do we have anyone here who ever used a crypto wallet? Hands up. Okay, cool. That's good. How many of the folks who just had a hand up are running their own crypto node infrastructure that interfaces their wallets? Very few hands up, a few shy hands up. Okay, fine. Now, what actually happens when your crypto wallet, you're using a crypto wallet that tells you how many ETH you have, how many Bitcoin you have? How does it get that information? Gets it from the blockchain, right? What's the blockchain? Like, where does it actually get stuff from? It gets stuff from a server that somebody else is running for you. One of the dirty secrets of the Web3 infrastructure. And these servers, typically called RPC providers, that allow your wallet to make so-called remote procedure calls, allow all sorts of data to be extracted. And I'm not going to make the demo here in light of time, but I invite everyone here to check out derp.hoprnet.org. If you have an Ethereum wallet, you can add that one with instructions on the page to your wallet, and you will see everything that your wallet is, leaking about you. And there'll be some pretty interesting surprises in for you. So, of course, they see your Ethereum address. But one thing that is not talked about so often is how all of that activity is linked to your IP address. Your IP address is your primary identifier in the Web3. And we talk about on-chain privacy, and there's really smart fellas here talking about, this ZK stuff, and we have privacy-respecting L2s now, and we have privacy L1s that unfortunately are having a hard stance, right? All of that still leaks information on the metadata. I invite you to check that one out, and that's what we set out to solve at HOPR. So what are we actually doing? We built a data exchange layer that is kind of middleware between you, the individual that is, kind of exposed to all sorts of peers in a network, which might be peeking at your data. And if you don't want this peer-to-creep interaction on a peer-to-peer network, we want to provide a solution for that one. So how does that actually work? So how do we actually go about doing that? What we're building in HOPR is a so-called mixed network. So instead of you sending data directly to some server provider, to another peer in a network, data is being relayed through multiple intermediate hops in such a network. And what Alejandro, who's sending data to Zoe, is doing here is he is choosing relayers which relay data packets and thereby obfuscating where data came from and where it goes to. And that is, for the ones here who are familiar with a VPN or with Tor, somewhat similar to Tor. Who here has ever used Tor? All doxed. Good. So Tor is a privacy technology that is oftentimes associated with the dark web, but primarily Tor is technology that provides privacy for sending data around. I think this association with dark web is a misunderstanding, but fair enough. So Tor is actually not so private. How do we improve that point? So in HOPR, now zooming in on any of these nodes, we do packet mixing. So packets come into this node, which relays data packets it transforms them, mixes them up, and sends them out in a different order. So even strong adversaries, such as your internet service provider, the cloud operator, that this computer might be running on, or obviously, again, strong nation-state adversaries cannot link, right? So only with root access to all the machines along this path where your packet is traversing, you will be able to link sender to recipients. And that is how mixed nets have stronger trust assumptions than VPNs or even like onion routers such as Tor. Now, there were a few people here using Tor. Anyone using a Tor node? Anyone running their own Tor node? No? Why not? It's pretty cool privacy tech that you guys use. Why are you not running a node? That's weird. I don't understand. So why would you, right? Why would you run a Tor node? It comes at non-zero cost, non-zero risk. Why the hell would you use a Tor node? Sometimes I bring the analogy of saying, would Jeff Bezos run thousands and thousands of computers in the cloud if everybody would expect that stuff is for free? Probably not, right? So we are bringing economic incentives to such a mixed net. But here's a problem. Typically, the guardians of money don't really like privacy. So that's why we had to implement a privacy-respecting payment scheme that is also censorship-resistant, and as it happens, that is what blockchains are really actually made for. So we have a payment scheme where you see the packet kind of hopping from one relayer to the next on top, and a payment scheme on the bottom that only when you provide a proof that you have done actually a correct job, you will get paid. So that's kind of the heart of the innovation of HOPR on incentivizing the decentralized relayers in such a network without any central oversight, without any kind of central operation, but just bottom-up control and, having a self-healing network. And with that, we are, as we say, changing data privacy for good. But how can I actually use it, right? How would you actually use such general purpose privacy infrastructure? So what we are launching right now is the first private RPC provider. So this issue, when you connect like your Ethereum wallet to Derp, you'll see a bunch of data being leaked. That's not great. So that's why we're building RPCH as the first truly private RPC provider operating on top of the HOPR network, and thereby sending the requests from your wallet, from your MetaMask or whatever you use, to an RPC server, which might still be centralized, which isn't great, but actually, do you care? Like, do you really care if the provider behind the scenes is centralized, if A, they cannot mess with the data that they deliver to you, and B, they cannot data harvest you? There's really no practical difference of a centralized to a decentralized network. Of course, I would hope that the power structures are not just all condensing into inferior alchemy, but I think strong privacy tech is paving a way to get us there. So, if you want to get access, you can check it out. It's in early alpha, available right now. If you are working on a crypto wallet, if you are working on anything that uses RPC providers and you think it's really messed up, that your users are being data harvested by third parties that you don't have any upside on, come talk to us. Happy to talk about how to make the Web3 Wonder World a bit more privacy respecting. Thank you so much for your attention, and happy to take some questions.
Fantastic. Before we send you all off to lunch, you have the time to ask one question, Sebastian. Yes, please.
Not so great, but how do you deal with low latency applications, high volume, low latency?
Yeah, so there is, like many good things in life, no free lunch, except for here. So there is indeed a very interesting trilemma that is called the anonymity trilemma, which is, proving that there's no free lunch between strong anonymity, low latency, and low bandwidth overhead. So basically, in that triangle, you somewhere have to choose your sucker. And what we want to do with HOPR is we make that customizable to your use cases or to your user. So if you say, I work on a hardcore private wallet, you go via like 3 intermediate relayers. You have latency in like tens of seconds to have a large anonymity set. If you say, hey, I want just something that's quite a bit better than a VPN, it's even fine to send it like via one intermediate hop that's kind of changed for every single packet that you send out. So there's kind of fast packet mixing, even via just one node. It's basically as if you had a VPN that is for every packet just choosing a different route. But yeah, unfortunately, no free lunch there, and it depends on the specific purpose and the specific privacy requirements you have there. If anybody wants to mint their POAP, please come see me afterwards. I think every crypto conference has to have POAPs. Thank you, and happy lunchtime.